tech has started to struggle in 2024. And I don't think this is necessarily the end. And I'll tell you why. Like, there are reasons. One big one, really. The pharma industry, you'd think this has nothing to do with tech, but I'll tell you where the likelihood or similarity comes in. 30, 40 years ago, 35 years ago, the pharmaceutical industry was booming. There was an era of what's known as blockbuster drugs. Blockbuster drugs were drugs that treated diseases for masses of people, for millions of people around the globe. Cholesterol, hypertension, blah, 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 high blood pressure, etc. And there were new medications that were being invented by pharmaceutical companies. Of course, they were under patent, so they were only sold as brand medications. So they made those companies a ton of money. And that was a very lavish time in the pharmaceutical industry for the people who worked in it. So, for example, if a new medication is being launched in a country somewhere overseas, the drug company might throw a really lavish party at a really fancy hotel, invite all the physicians. Regulations were perhaps different in some places other than the US, and people got basically showered in different forms of luxury by pharma companies. Fancy dinners, fancy giveaways, fancy gifts, bribes, stuff like that. Of course, the FDA eventually, I think, came cracking down on all that. But the moral of the story is there's a lot of money to go around at that time because those companies were making a ton of money. Because in a way, those mass diseases were, again, in a way, low-hanging fruit. It was low-hanging fruit because it was new, treated millions of people or managed the condition for millions of people. So yeah, it's just like a pipe of money burst, and it's just erupting with money showering everyone involved in the process. And then harder times came along. There was something known as the patent cliff. The patent cliff was a period in history, I can't remember the exact year range, but it was like several years ago, where a lot of the medications that made those humongous tech companies tons and tons of money, think Viagra, think Lipitor, think stuff like that. Lipitor is a cholesterol medication, Viagra is Viagra, everyone knows that. It made them all a ton of money. And the patent cliff was when those patent fees expired, and that means other companies can start making the same medication as generics, and generics at least eventually become much cheaper than the brand name medications. So it's a lot of competition to the company that invented that medication, the innovator company. And what do? They have nowhere to turn that's as luxurious as the times were when those blockbuster drugs were still under patent. So eventually the answer for the pharmaceutical companies was that they started turning to drugs that treat more rare conditions that have no treatments yet or nothing effective yet, for example, and they come up with a medication. Now, the thing with these conditions is that they don't affect as many people around the world. However, they were able to come up with medications and get them FDA approved and sell them that treated conditions that affected a smaller number of people that were really, really serious or really hard to treat, really complex. And that these new medications were unbelievably expensive and are unbelievably expensive, at least many of them until today, probably so. For example, something that treats hepatitis C, and there's like a bunch of different meds involved. But their answer was not something that was as easy as it used to be. So the era of the low-hanging fruit, the medications that treat millions of people for relatively easier to solve conditions or simpler conditions in a way, that era was over. Their new reality was they have to find another way to make money, to make big money, and it's not going to be easy anymore, and that's just how it is now. The tech industry, in my opinion, is where the pharma industry was maybe 35 years ago. So where the tech industry is in 2024 is where the pharma industry, I think, was about 35 years ago. They're just newer. So they're running into the same problems later on, down the road because they are newer. They at least boomed later than the tech industry, and a lot of the things are just newer. Like the iPhone happened in 2007, and it's the main source of revenue for Apple. So I don't see a path forward for the tech industry to grow the way they did in the past. Look at the tech scene summarized in 2024. What did you get? AI, 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 AI. New phones, yeah, but you get new phones every year. What's happening? Oh, AI. And the iPhone even's like sold on AI that it doesn't even have yet, or it has stuff that's not everything yet, and it's not necessarily all that great. Um, Generally speaking, the flagships, oh, it's faster, it's got a better camera, it's got a better chip, it's got a new color, it's a new material, all that, nothing major, right? They're in the patent cliff equivalent era for the tech industry. In a way, I'm not saying patents are expiring on iPhone or on like Galaxy phones. That's not what I mean. But from a business perspective, that seems to be where they are now. And there, you can tell that they don't know where to go. Apple tried with the Vision Pro. It wasn't mass market adoption. So that's not going to fly, right? Meta keeps trying with the Meta Quest. They try and one up Apple with the Orion. Orion's expensive and it's not that great, but we're gonna make it better, and then and when it's better and cheaper, we're gonna sell it. So they made the proper decision, in my opinion, compared to what Apple did, which is just just ship it, just ship it. And Apple, like just as a side note, it's almost like it's the same mistake made twice. They made it with the Vision Pro and they made it again with Apple Intelligence on the iPhone. A half-baked product that they want to sell now. The Vision Pro, too expensive, bulky, not the best. There's issues with it. No actual real use case. But sell it now, sell it now. It's like they're trying to do anything to generate tons of revenue. Same thing with the Apple Intelligence. It's not ready. They rely on OpenAI. They make stuff that looks weird. The playground icon on your iPhone, even the design of the icon doesn't look consistent with the design language of other native iPhone apps. But yeah, just ship it. Just ship it. Vision Pro's half baked, yeah, ship it. It's okay. Apple Intelligence, it's not even done yet. It's not that great. We don't even have all of it rolled out on the iPhone that was marketed around Apple Intelligence. It's fine. Just ship it. Ship Apple Intelligence half baked. Ship the iPhone 16 lineup half baked. Ship the Vision Pro half baked. Why are they doing all this? They're trying to find that next new big product line that's going to be their new cash cow. But they can't. It's not working for the reasons that we've discussed. Similar, in a way, financially, to the patent cliff that the pharma industry experienced a few years ago. Not recently, I can't remember exactly when it was. Anyway, it was 2000s, but I don't know exactly when it was. So it's the same idea where the low-hanging fruit's gone. Smartphones are mainstream now. They've become commoditized. Just like the big pharma companies are like, oh, the medication that made us tons of money, well, the patents are expiring. We don't know how to make a ton of money going forward. Their answer was specialized medications, treats a smaller number of people, really expensive medications. In a way, I think the path forward for tech can ironically actually be healthcare, and I think I've said that before in a video. The concept of healthcare being a big focus, or should be a big focus for tech, because the low-hanging fruit, the new iPhone, new Galaxy phone, new Pixel that's going to make you a ton of money, I don't think so. To depend on that, to be humongous in the future, if you really can't build something into it that turns heads, it's not working. So they need to focus more on things that are no longer low-hanging fruit. That's over. They probably need to focus on health applications, which Apple's already doing, obviously. I mean, they've done that in the Apple Watch with the ECG or the EKG, depending on where you're watching this video from. The oximeter that, and the whole issue that happened with that. What do you call it? Other things that are like other health features, the the hearing aid feature for the AirPods Pros, you know, that kind of thing, basically. So, or for the AirPod Pros too. Anyway, whatever it was. The focus needs to shift more towards things that are harder to do for the tech industry to make them new cash cows. They tried with AI, there's no solid head turning business use case yet. So that's why tech struggled in 2024. That's why it's going to probably, I think, continue to struggle. I don't know if it's fair to say indefinitely, because there may be something big around the corner. Like, what do I know? But it doesn't look like there's something compelling that's going to be their new cash cow, at least that I can see coming soon.